complete chapter 10. So we said that the dog's room in the first floor and Anton Domoban in the second floor. At night, the dog locked the door of her room and pulled up the drawbridge. At night, he locked the room of Anton Domoban, okay? Johann slept near the front door of the new castle with 5 other men, but they had no guns. Okay, those men who stayed with Johann had no guns. Rodolphe offered Johann to be rich if he took a letter to Madame de Maubin. Rodolphe offered Johann to be a rich man if he took a letter or a message to Anton de Maubin. He wanted Anton de Maubin to help him to save Huya Primer, the real king. Rodolphe told Johann to open the front door of the new castle the next day at 2 o'clock in the morning. He told him to tell the others that he needs air or something and then escape. Johann to escape from the place. Johann was scared but seemed to understand the message of Rodolphe. Rodolphe explained his plan to Sept and Fritz. This plan is safely or dangerous? Dangerous. When Johann opened the front door, Sept and his men will run into the castle and hold the men who are sleeping there. هيمسكوهم كده وهياخدوهم ويطلعوهم برا. At the same time, Anton de Maubin will scream loudly and cry for Michael to help her as she will shout Robert Fontazo name. Yes, في نفس الوقت أنتون دو موبان هتعمل ايه؟ هتصرخ بصوت عالي عشان دوك مايكل يسمعها وتقول روبرت فوندازو بصوت عالي عشان يعرفوا في ايه. دوك مايكل will hear and he will run out of that room straight into the hand of سابت. هيروح ناحية سابت، فسابت طبعا هيحاول يخلص عليه. سابت will get the key from the dog and let down the drawbridge. يعني ايه let down؟ ان هو هيحاول ينزل الدروبريدج، الكوبري اللي احنا لو فاكرين انا وريت لكم صورته قبل كده يا برايم 6. Robert and Dojatet will hear the noise and hurry to cross the drawbridge. يعني هما هينزلوا drawbridge. Rodolphe will hide by the bridge in the moat and when they try to cross he will kill them. لو حاولوا ان هم يعدوا الدروبريدج ده هيحاول ان هو يقتلهم. دي الخطة بتاعت رودولف سابت and Fritz to save the king. Then they will hurry to the room in the old castle where the king is and kill Richard and Bersonian before they have the time to kill the king. ان هم هيحاولوا يقتلوهم هم قبل ما هم يكون عندهم الوقت ان هم يقتلوا the real king يا برايمري 6. Fritz Sept listened to Rodolphe plan in silence. ده كلها كانت البلان بتاعته. It was a very dangerous plan and Rodolphe didn't really think it would work but they had to try. Okay, now we will take chapter 11. We needed bad weather but it was fine and clear night. هما كانوا محتاجين very bad weather not fine and clear. At midnight Sept, Fritz and their men left and rode quietly through the woods towards the castle. Sept, Fritz and their men to the castle of Zenda. They would get there at 1:45 and wait Johann to open the front door. كانوا مستنيين ان هو يفتح الدور. If Johann didn't open the door, Fritz would come around to the other side of the castle to find me. هيروح الناحية التانية عشان يحاول يلاقي رودولف. If I wasn't there I was dead and the king too. لو أنا مش هناك هكون أنا مت والكينج برضو. Sept and his men would go back to Trondheim house and return with the marshal and more men to get into the castle. Rodolphe left Trondheim. He took a shorter way than Sept and reached the moat. He had his horse, tied his rope around a strong tree and left himself down in the water. He came to the pipe and waited quietly in its shadow. Duke Michael asked Robert of Fantazo in angry voice what he was doing in his room. He then told him to go to bed. Robert crossed the drawbridge and it was pulled up. Suddenly Robert Fantazo appeared in the gateway to the bridge, then turned and began to climb down some hidden steps in the wall. He was with his sword. He went down into the water and swam across the moat. Then he climbed out and unlocked the door. It was clear that he had his own secret plans for that night. هو كان عنده خطة سرية ليه لوحده مش قايل عليها لدوك مايكل. Rodolph climbed up the gateway of the bridge and hid in a dark corner. كان في جنب كده لوحده. There were a sudden crash and a woman's screams rang through the night. Those were screams of a real fear, and there were shouts and the sound of fighting from Anton's room. كل الكلام اللي بيحصل ده عند أنطون ده مبان حقيقي، هي مش بتمثل. هي فعلا خايفة. هو واضح إن في حد بيعمل فايتنج عندها في الأوضة يا برايمري 6. There were a sudden crash and a woman's screams rang through the night. Okay. Robert was fighting. Johann was fighting in the dog's side. More of the dog's men ran to the room. Suddenly, Robert, with his sword, jumped from the window into the mud pool. At that moment, Rodolphe killed Dogotet with his sword at the door of the old castle. After that, he took the keys from his body. I was in the first room and found only Personian and killed him. Richard had run into the king's room and locked the door behind him. The king was standing helplessly not anyone help him by the wall. كان واقف كده محدش بيساعده خالص، واقف جنب الحيطة. I entered the room and fought long and hard with Richard. كان بيحارب بصعوبة جدا مع Richard and he was an excellent swordman. But a second later his body laid across the dead doctor who gave his life for the king. The doctor fight for Hoya primary for the real king and he was dead for the real king. Rodolphe had no time to find out if the king was dead as he had to fight his enemies. Robert of Fantazo was standing alone in the middle of the bridge. In the gateway on the far side stood a group of stocksmen frightened to move. كانوا خايفين هم يعدوا. Again, Antondo Moban faced Robert Fantazo with her gun, but before she could shout, Robert jumped over the side of the bridge and down into the mud pool. Robert was running towards the trees where Rodolphe left his horse, and in a minute he was on it. Rodolphe ran at him with his sword as he fought wildly. Rodolphe was saved by Fritz, who came galloping around the castle to find him. Robert rode away into the forest and is still alive. Because of a very brave Englishman, the king is alive. Okay, primary. So at the end of chapter 11, their plan was successful, and all of the men of Duke Michael was dead, and Robert of Fantazo was alive, and he went away, and no one knew where he went. Okay, in chapter 12, all Sabt worked hard to keep Rodolphe and Sabt's secret. He sent messages, told lies, and gave orders. When they make this, he gave lies and gave orders. At his plan were successful. No one ever found out that for a short while there were two kings. No one in the country knows that there were two kings. Okay, one in the prison and one was Rodolphe Rascendel. All his plans were successful. No one ever. All the plan of Huya primary of Rodolphe Rascendel. Before Rodolphe returned to England, he saw the king once more. He saw the king. We both knew that we would never meet again. The real king said to him, we know that we never meet again. احنا مش هينفع نتقابل تاني. It was too dangerous and Rodolphe didn't want any more adventure. ما كانش عايز أي مغامرات تاني. كفاية اللي حصل له بمعنى أصح. Rodolphe lived quietly, but every year Fritz and I meet in a little town outside Ruritania. في كل سنة Rodolphe Rascendel and Fritz meet in a little town outside Ruritania. Fritz gave Rodolphe news of the king and his wife Queen Flavia. So the real king married Huya primary Princess Flavia, the queen. Every year Rodolphe thought about how he too was once King Rodolphe of Ruritania. Every year he remembered what happened to him when he was a king of Ruritania. Okay, now we finished the story. Thank you for listening to me. Goodbye.